This happened when I was 13. I'm a girl and in the 8th grade. The middle school I went to was about a 15-minute walk, so not very far. For context, my older brother and I grew up in East LA in a small house that had a metal gate and both the front and back doors had a black metal screen door and a wooden door. During the day we would always leave the wooden door open and have the black metal door closed and locked, except on this particular day. That day I came home from school and had about an hour before anyone else would be home. I was really thirsty, so I rushed inside, grabbed a drink, and sat down at the kitchen table, which was about 10 feet away from the front door. I heard the metal gate open and was surprised as no one should have been coming home that early. I got up to see who it was and I saw an older man, probably in his 60s. He had short white hair and a long white beard. He was wearing an AC/DC t-shirt, torn jeans, and sunglasses. I remember thinking he looked a lot like Santa Claus, but dirty and creepy. He knocked on the metal screen door and asked if my parents were home. I was a dumb kid and said they weren't. He got a smile on his face and said that he collected donations for needy children. I said sorry, but I didn't have any money. He said sometimes children donated old toys. I said I didn't have any old toys to donate. He insisted that I must have some toys I didn't want anymore. It was beginning to creep me out, and I noticed I unlocked the door when I came inside. I tried to keep my cool as I slowly and very carefully locked the door. I kept him talking so he wouldn't notice. A minute or two later he wouldn't leave, so I decided I would pretend to check for toys and then say I didn't have any so he would hopefully leave. I told him I would go check, and as I turned and took a few steps down the hall, I clearly heard him yank at the door trying to open it. I didn't want him to know I had heard, so I kept walking down the hall and into a room. I didn't have a cell phone, and the only phone in the house was in the kitchen. I thought about what to do and decided to stick with my plan. After about 2 or 3 minutes, I walked out, hoping he'd left. Nope, creepy Santa Man was still there. I told him sorry, but I didn't find anything. He sighed and said, alright, he'd check another time. He left and walked across the street. I watched from the kitchen window, peeking through the blinds as he just stood there, staring at my house for about 45 minutes. My brother and a few of his friends finally came walking down the street. As my brother came inside and his friends kept walking down the street, the man walked around the corner and disappeared. I told my brother what happened and he walked outside to look, but creepy Santa Man was long gone. When my mom came home, we told her what happened and she called the police, but they said to call back if he showed up again. Thankfully he never did. So creepy Santa Man, let's not meet. At first I wasn't going to share this story, but now that I'm more over the situation, I will. Before we start, judge me all you want to, but I know I can be a bit stupid. It's only because I don't like to force myself to live on the edge due to the sick people in this world. I live my life as freely and as fearlessly as I possibly can. At the time of the story I was 23, but my birthday passed on the 29th of November, making me 24 now. I'm only 5'2" and about 170 to 180 pounds, and I'm strong enough to help move furniture, but not strong enough to defend myself the way I would like to be. You'd think, as someone who survived an attempted sexual assault, I would learn some self-defense, but I've lost a lot of motivation and self-worth since. The abusive relationship really made it worse, but that's besides the point. So, to start, I won't get into major details, but I just moved to Jackson, Tennessee from Miami, Florida, because I'd just gotten out of an extremely physically, emotionally, and mentally abusive relationship that lasted 3 years. About sometime in June, my current boyfriend and I had been doing trips pretty much every weekend, and we'd visit new hiking and waterfall areas. Although there isn't a nightlife, Tennessee is amazingly beautiful. We went to this place called Narrows of the Harpeth. This was one of the underwhelming places we've been to, but still relaxing. After we found a cool place to sit down and swim, after hiking for 2 hours, as well as a few shots and one blunt later, it was time to make the hour-long trip back to Jackson. I put my shoes on and slipped back on my dress. The dress I was wearing is a little bit above knee height, so if I bent too far forward, a little too much would be on display. I own my body and my sexuality, so showing some skin never really bothers me, and I don't really think about it, because I just expect people to respect me the same way as I respect them in the way they dress. On the way back to the car, I, being the tipsy dumbass I am, managed to trip and fall, scraping my leg pretty badly. It's actually scarred now, so I told my boyfriend we need to go to Walmart once back in Jackson so I can thoroughly clean my wound with hydrogen peroxide and neosporin. He says okay. An hour later we're at Walmart. Mind you, it is only about 9 p.m., going on 10. Not late by any means. We get what I need, but because I'm still tipsy and pretty high from the blunt I finished in the car ride home, I got distracted very easily, and I remember that my boyfriend got me the wrong size case for my iPhone. I wanted an idea of what I could trade it for, and he wanted to look at some of the games, as well as a gaming PC for me. So I'm happily tipsy and excited to find a new case, which, if you've ever been to Walmart, the cases are never in order, and that often causes you to have to bend down to look at things. There was a man looking at the cases, and I said, "Excuse me, sorry, can I look at the cases you're standing in front of?" He just looked at me with a blank, yet dirty look, nodded, and stepped over. About 5 minutes into me looking at the shelf, this lady and what I assume are her 2 children approaches me. Mind you, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm thrown off by how close she is to me, especially with her baby that looks no older than 9 months. I step back and she just grabs my arm and says, "Oh my god, I haven't seen you in forever. Look at that hair, wow." And her grip tightens. At this point my heart is racing, my face gets very hot and I'm visibly scared. That's when my boyfriend says, "Everything okay, babe?" And he looks at me equally concerned. I'm thinking to myself, does this lady know my mom? Who is she? Is she an old family friend? I don't remember. I'm originally from Ohio and we have family here, but I don't know any of them that live in Tennessee. My mom loves to brag about her kids, so I'm trying to shake this weird feeling, but her daughter keeps looking behind me, so I go to turn around and she says, "No, don't turn around. Walk with me. Please trust me." I don't know why, but I felt like she was being genuine, so I just followed her. We step over to the side by the baby clothes, which is still in front of the electronics, and she says, "Baby, I'm so sorry to scare you, but there are 3 men surrounding you." They went by the laptops, spoke, and then I noticed the guy taking photos and videos of you while you were bent over looking at the cases, and the other man was a tall guy next to you, and I don't know where the third man went. All I can remember is this high-pitched ringing in my ears. My stomach flipped and I felt like I was going to be sick. I never knew what people meant when they said everything slowed down, but in that moment everything moved in slow motion. I was freaked out to the point that I have no clue what she said after. It was as if I blacked out for a moment, and then quickly came to the realization that the family and my boyfriend were looking at me visibly panicked. I turned around and there was one of the men. He was Hispanic and shorter than me, maybe about 5'1", but he was very built and also looked to be about 40. The other man was white, about 5'11" and possibly around his 40s. I'll never forget the dead blank rage in the Hispanic man's eyes, like his first meal in 5 days had been stolen from him, and he was ready to kill in order to have it back. That's when I saw the white man walk over to him. He said something, both looked at me, looked back at each other, said something else, and then started to walk towards us slowly. At that point we all turned and headed for the registers, and that's when I thanked my lucky stars because there were about 3 cops at the front of the store. I rudely pushed past the people at checkout, tears in my eyes, frantically repeating "excuse me" to anyone who got in front of me. When I looked back, I saw him just standing there with the third guy. My heart sank and I wanted to pass out at that moment. I guess it looked like I was going up to the cops because they hightailed it once they saw me getting closer to them. Me, being high as shit and being a black woman, wasn't going to chance the cops turning this around on me because I was simply stoned and tipsy. My only thought was get to the car, get to the gun, don't stop, run. My boyfriend said he could barely keep up with me, and at one point I had grabbed his hand so tightly he had to force the grip off because it felt like I was going to crush his hands. Before anyone bashes my boyfriend, I don't expect a man to be my savior. He isn't the angry, confrontational type. He's very calm and level-headed and wouldn't even hurt a fly unless I asked him to get rid of it for some reason. I just knew I was the target and I was putting him at risk. I knew they could easily jump him, and one of them could overpower me after taking him out. I probably looked crazed, half walking and running past everyone, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to become another missing sister. We made it to the car safely and peeled out of there. I've never seen him drive so fast, as he's beyond careful and would never speed. We sat at a Sonic for about an hour to make sure we weren't being followed, and we recounted everything that happened. I just couldn't believe we both were too tipsy to notice that I'd become prey in somewhere as simple as Walmart. I've never felt so stupid and irresponsible in my life. I never want to experience that fear and panic in my life again. I didn't even get the chance to thank the lady who pretty much saved us. Sometimes we talk about it. What if the lady didn't see what that guy was doing? Even if we caught on, there were 3 and we only saw 2 at first. I'm 5'2" and 170 pounds and I think of the horrors. That night, I had a nightmare. The men attacked us in the parking lot. Creepiest part of the dream was the 3rd man shoved me in the trunk. I remember looking up and all I could see was a featureless face. I woke up in tears that night, realizing that I didn't get a clear look at the 3rd guy's face. It took me nearly a month to enter a Walmart again. Since then I've moved states and I've only been to Walmart once since moving here. So, to the creepy men that stalked me, upskirted me, and basically followed me, even when they knew I was around other people, I genuinely hope we never meet again, because the gun I carry on my person now has 3 beautiful hellos that would enjoy meeting you all.